Thank you for tuning in to the...
Has he been drinking?
We are live.
We about to get drunk.
Can a man get a drink around here?
We're going streaking!
Welcome to Crypto Power Hour with your hosts, Killer Whale, Prince, and Crypto Dale.
Damn it, Dale.
Yo, what is up? Daddy is back, folks. Crypto Dale, you are listening to Crypto Street Podcast. God damn, it's been a while. What a flippin' intro is right. This is Crypto Dale, joined back in business. Just want to say thanks to everybody. Been coaching, doing some coaching, some baseball, and had some family issues. Back now. I don't, for the foreseeable future, I plan on remaining. I know a couple people kept asking if I got fired, which it came close. Came really close. But no, Prince and Killer, thanks for holding the fort up, keeping this thing going. So, as always, joined with Killer. What's up, buddy?
Hey, dude. I can't tell you how good it is to have you back. It just feels like right. I felt like I was doing the podcast in a foreign location prior to this, like having to start it. It's weird because like it's like you underestimate how strange it is to like hit that record button and just be like, oh, okay, it's on me to talk now and like get this going and kind of guide it a little bit. And so that's like harder to get used to than people realize. So good to have you back, dude. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I thought you guys did very well. Prince is, sketch, but he's always been sketch from day one. So what's up, Prince?
Shut up. Sketch. No, not too much. Can't complain. I don't know. It's just another day in paradise out here in great old white north Canada land. So
hey, Trudeau, right? What's his name?
Trudeau. He seems like an okay guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I thought you guys were talking about somebody in the chat at first. I'm looking like, who's this Trudeau?
No, that dude that's trying to play trading war with the U.S. of A. Yeah. Okay.
He seems like he means well. I don't know if he's really the brightest of folks, but well, this isn't a political.
That's a good point. I was just thinking that we don't have Bully on here.
Yeah.
We don't need to take this out route. Let's focus on our awesome guest. I know. I think if you go back to, we're not going to have him give his story on how he got into crypto. You can head back to one of the earlier episodes. Sicarious is joining us tonight. Kind of cool having him here. We thought we're going to try and maybe do this a little more. Have these guys that we've had before on for a live stream so that our audience can ask them questions that they want. So Sicarious, thanks for being on, man.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for the invite again. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I was pretty pumped about this early on. So. Let's just jump right in. I see people are saying I'm back before the bull season. I'm not quite 100% sold yet that we're going to see quote unquote alt season a bull run. So Sicarious, maybe what?
Don't say that.
You want to fight? Here's the thing. I feel like everybody wants it so bad. At any green candle, everyone's ushering it in, and I'm not quite sold yet. So Sicarious, let's hear you're the expert out of us. What is it today?
I'm not ready to once again say all the bottoms are in and it's nothing but moons and sunshines from here on out. But I think this bounce has definitely breathed some life back into alts. I'm looking at some of mine. I've got some up 10, 20, 30+%. People once again, they're kind of given that assurance that Bitcoin's not going to 3K, at least not this week, hopefully. So so they can jump into alts and make some quick plays there. I think that's really what was holding us back for a while. I mean, a lot of alts were sitting on the supports, maybe a little under, with even some of them having decent news or developments coming out, but they really weren't showing many signs of life. And I think this is what they needed.
Yeah, that move today, like on Bitcoin, that was a confidence move. Like that was big. And I think there was a lot of people, even myself included, before we got over 68, where it was like, oh, are we going to go back down now? Or like, we're going to lose steam? And then boom, it came in and the volume was there. And it was like, okay, this is beautiful. Here we go.
And it just blew through that resistance at 6,800. I mean, like flew
Once
through it. It was
I literally I went out, I was making a cup of coffee, come back, look at my phone, and next thing you know, the price was $300 higher within 10 minutes. It's like, what did I miss? You know?
right.
It was the highest volume 4-hour candle in BitMEX's history.
I saw that was like 2 billion plus.
Something like that. I mean,
Yeah,
granted,
that's insane.
you got to, yeah, and in a sense, I mean, you have to expect that the average volume of these exchanges is going to naturally follow a curve up, just with time as more and more people come into the space. But it's still remarkable to say that because volume had basically been dropping for a large part of the past 6 months.
It's especially remarkable considering BitMEX was down for me for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, it
True to
was.
form.
I see Nomad is joining us.
Oh, nice.
He was told $3K to get his bids filled. Okay, well that's
By Prince probably.
No, that wasn't. I didn't say $3K. I might have said
No, I know.
4,500, but hey, here we are.
Sicarious, I got a question for you. Somebody asked us in the chat, how did we go bull after the last bear season? Can anybody remember from 2016? I think you were involved around then, right?
Yeah, I got involved December 2013 actually.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so well involved. So what was the feeling like when the markets were starting to kind of flatten out and then creep above previous local lows? I would say, like, what was the environment like, I guess?
So we went sub 200 for like a really proper capitulation. And I distinctly remember all in shorting with my OK coin account on 20x when we broke below 200. Not a good move. At that point, I was like, I don't know that we're not going to zero. I don't. So then quick bounce after that, and we then were sideways for quite a while. So it wasn't quite as or I should say it was more drastic than what we're feeling now. I'm not sure if the capitulation bottom is in here. I don't know if that's because it's not in or just because it takes more to make me capitulate these days, because I have better risk management than having all my Bitcoin on OKCoin. Yeah, but so when we came out of that bear, it was a really hard reversal sideways for a while and then just a nice steady grind up. I recall actually my mom, I've talked about her a little bit on Twitter. She texted me around 250 saying I'd like to get into Bitcoin. And I was like, honestly, Mom, I'm not sure we're not going to like double digits. So hold off and I'll tell you when it's like, so then we had our capitulation bottom and I got her in at like 350, I think. I don't have, let me pull up a chart. If I recall correctly, after that capitulation bottom, it climbed pretty sharply up to like 450 and then retraced down to like 300. So it was still volatile. But that was kind of in a much more dramatic fashion than today. A confidence move.
Yeah.
That really let me know, okay, the bottom is in and we're setting up for the next halving. So
yeah, I'm kind of with Dale in that it feels too easy. And I'm trying to kind of juxtapose that with my view of the overall where we're going long term, which is similar to 2013, 2014, as in the bubble crashes, but we don't go flat for as long. So with that theory in mind, it kind of works out a little bit, but it still feels too easy, right? Like, do you guys feel like that? Or is it just
I think it's funny you say it feels too easy because I think there's a lot of people who would argue with you that it's been really hard, right?
Yeah.
And the journey up to this point. But there was some news that came out, and we got some fundamental reasons, I guess. There's been a lot of fundamental factors lately that people could say, well, that's really bullish. And I think we've had this for the last few months. And it's like, oh, well, it's doing nothing. Well, today we kind of, I guess, the timing of that whole MasterCard and Bitcoin thing, that kind of got things, the timing of that was pretty correlated, I guess, in a sense, from what I saw. So that was interesting. MasterCard's looking to try and get into crypto. Pretty bullish. And then we got the ETF dealio, which is right around the corner from the sounds of it. And this is looking upwards too for that. So,
well, I think part of the reason it might feel too easy to us is kind of, as I said, we had hopefully decent risk management this time around.
You know, if I think back to when we hit the capitulation bottom back in 16 at 150, well, I'd bought in at $1,000. I'd bought in at the peak. So when I view today's price, and you know, when we hit sub 6K a while back, I'm viewing that as somebody who took decent profit on the way up north of 15K and had enough fiat to buy the dip. If I like try and step out of myself and view that as someone who bought in at 20K,
that's a tough battle.
That'd be a lot tougher.
Yeah.
I guess it's all about perspective, right? It's all about how long you've been in the markets, how much of this feels familiar at all to you. Because, like we've talked about before, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people who bought in after the holidays in 2017, and they go, "Oh, I bought at 18K. I knew Bitcoin was a scam," or you know, it's like, and we got to shake out all those people.
Yeah, and for me, I got in around 1,000. So I think the hardest part, though, for even if we have good risk management, is looking at the all-time high, which I know is shitty to do, and you know, at the grand scheme of things, maybe you shouldn't be doing that, but still looking at your entire portfolio all-time high, and then realizing, you know, okay, I should have taken more profit on the way up, even though, like you said, Sicarious, I took some, you know, enough that I could buy, you know, been buying back. Yeah. But still, you just think, okay, shit. And, you know, and one other thing I think everyone needs to understand is, you know, we're all still learning along the way, no matter how long all of us have been in. I was talking to someone, I'm not going to name his name, the other day, who's been in, you know, a lot of people would consider an OG. And he even said, you know, this last run up in December and January, I learned so much about myself, and I hope I get another chance because I learned I still need to take more profit. So, you know, I think that's kind of where I'm hurting a little bit, so to say, is just thinking comparative to where we were at and where we are at. You know, overall grand scheme of things, I'm still up. So that I can soothe my soul, and does make it a little easier for, you know, thinking in my head, okay, if we do go down to, you know, 3K or 4K, whatever, I'm still, you know, 3-4x up on my initial buy. So that makes it a hell of a lot easier than if I would have bought in at 20K, I would be so fucking butthurt right now.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so I was actually talking to Ledger Status a couple weeks ago, and I kind of said the same thing about how even if we've been in this space a relatively long time, we're still noobs, so to speak. So you have people like Nomad out there who's listening, who he's been working in the traditional markets for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And then I got involved in Bitcoin December 2013, which is relatively a long time considering it's been around just since 09. I mean, it's not like old money in entry, but you know, I've been here a while, more than most of the people in the industry. But that said, if you look, I mean, 5 years trading experience, 3 of which I was basically just gambling and buying people's calls on Twitter. That is not a lot of experience as far as trading and risk management and the whole psychology of it is. So yeah, I'm definitely still learning about myself, about the markets, how to manage risk, how to manage myself. I'm still very much a noob in that aspect.
Well, that mindset is what makes you like actually very smart, I think, because I think a lot of people get a little bit smart about something and immediately they think, oh, I know everything about this. And they stop learning. They stop being open-minded. And so the fact that, you know, you're what a lot of people consider, you know, an OG, one of the best traders of crypto that's on crypto Twitter. But to hear that, I think is kind of an insight as to why that may be true, because you do still think like, hey, I'm a noob, you know, or whatever.
To have that mindset.
Yeah. Carpe said the same thing.
Crypto, it's changing so quickly all the time. You know, just as Nomad said here in the chat, these cycles, you know, they're getting faster, you know, so you always have to be on top of your game. You can't just get complacent here, right? And you see it a lot. I talk with some guys, and you know, you'll see when even myself, I'll notice it sometimes, right? You start to get that ego. You start to think it's like, you know, you nail a few wicked trades, and you're like, you know, I'm a god. I am good. You know, I'm a money making machine, and then you know, you get back down to reality. So you have to keep that level headed, you know, headspace, and just stay, you know, calm, cool, and collected, right?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I wanted to talk about, I'm sure we probably would have gotten to this at some point anyway, but Coinbase announced that they have basically, well, there was a revision to the story today, but essentially Coinbase has some kind of green light to list actual securities at some point soon.
Mhm.
Did you see they just announced that that was incorrect?
Yeah, that's why I was like, I didn't know how to present it. I think what they were saying was like we didn't need the SEC's permission, like we said, because we never actually needed their permission. We're just like doing these things. It was like a
Oh.
weird revision, I think.
I
But
just
anyway.
don't get their mindset. Like when they came out and said that they're gonna possibly list these coins. I mean, I just don't fucking get it.
I don't know. It's tough. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, what was your reaction when you first saw the story? Maybe revised reaction now that it's been amended a bit.
Yeah, I think anything that enables cryptocurrencies to get in the hands and on the radar of more people, of more money, I think that's an inherently bullish thing for the space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now, I mean, there's ICOs out there who are basically or who are acting as securities, and people are just trading them on dexes. But I think if there's actually a legitimate platform where the opportunity provided by tokenized securities can, flourish in a regulated fashion, I'm excited to see how that turns out. I don't know if that's gonna, totally upend the VC marketplace or just how that's happened, for years and years. But I'm excited to see what happens with it.
What did you think of their announcement? I think it was like a week prior, where they're like, "Hey, we're thinking about adding the following. It doesn't necessarily mean we will, like wink, wink, like, but we're thinking about it." Like, what do you guys? I thought that was a very strange thing to do, but I want to hear your thoughts on that.
To me,
I
it
think
seemed like they were. Mine's gonna be quick, so I'll sorry to interrupt, but to me, it seems like it appeared they have those bags and want it out from them. But I'm wrong.
I think Coinbase is too big to care about that. I don't know though.
So if you recall back when they added BCH, there was the accusations of insider trading on that.
Right.
I think they tried way too hard to cover their ass by being non-committal and announcing everything as a maybe ahead of time. That they caused more damage than they would have if they had just announced it the day of. But I don't think they were trying to be confusing necessarily. I just think lawyers got involved, which I mean they have to when you're in exchange, fair enough.
Right.
And they just tried to do too much ass covering at once.
That's a really
Yeah.
good take. I never really thought of that, I guess, but I
I
don't.
mean, there's obviously something going on with the Bitcoin Cash listing, right? The action was too strange, and I think they kind of admitted that something leaked internally.
Yeah. Whereas if you announce it like 6 months ahead of time as a maybe, if whatever price action happens after that, fair enough. It's a lot harder to peg that on insider trading, so to speak. And now if they want to back out, they can, since they did kind of pre-announce it early. I don't know. I don't think it was well done. I think they, like I said, caused more damage than they would if they had just shut up and announced the coin the day they launch it.
Yeah, it's maybe like an example of a company overcompensating, in regards to past action when it actually just made it kind of strange and confusing. I think it was an odd thing to do, but
I'm not a lawyer, and I assume they were listening to their legal team and did what they told them they should probably do. So, whatever.
You're seeing that with like a lot of different projects too, where it's like they're starting to be like completely beholden to the legal team, because a lot of these ICOs that took place in 2017 are realizing like, oh, this might have been illegal. Or I mean, I'm sure they all kind of knew it was borderline, but it's a lot of these projects. I have a certain ones in mind that I don't want to talk about, but they've become like silenced almost because they're so terrified of litigation. I think it's part of the industry. It's perfectly normal and expected, but it's kind of interesting to see how that has affected some of these projects that I think at the time felt like they got in right before things got serious.
Yeah, and I feel like there's just so much unknown, really. That everyone's doing a lot, like Sicarious said, doing a lot of CYA and just making sure all the I's are dots and the T's are crossed. But I saw someone up earlier asked maybe what we would do different this next bull run. Granted, we ever get one. So what do you guys have to say about that?
Sicarious, you can take this. I'll answer after you.
It's something I had already decided to do last bull run and just did not implement it as well as I could have. But it's to be pickier with my rebuys.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where the top was. So once we kind of hit ludicrous levels on Bitcoin, I just started selling a little bit every day or every resistance. So I was actually pretty well positioned. Then we dumped all the way down to like 11K in the period of a week from 20. Then we had that basically gift from God back to 17K. And I took a lot off there, and I was sitting really well in a heavy fiat position. But then I just started deploying my fiat too early. So crypto seems to always go higher than the pumps. The pumps and dumps both seem to exceed expectations. And you can make and save a lot of money by just sitting on your hands and waiting.
Sometimes the best action is no action at all.
Yeah. I think it's hard because, like, I can sit here and say I'll take profit sooner, but I had that in my mind during the bull run, but I didn't know if we were at the top or near the top. And so, like, I knew, I'm like, these are crazy good returns. I should take some profit, but that's not enough, I don't think. So it's hard to say what I would do different because I did what I thought was best, the best move possible at the time. And clearly it wasn't, because I got out way too late, or I didn't really get out. I'm holding a lot of stuff I had at all-time highs. So it's really hard to say, I think I will say I did have a feeling at a few points where I was like, okay, this is too good. I should get a little bit out, and I didn't. Mm-hmm. And maybe when I get that little nagging feeling this time, I'll take a little bit more out. But it's still a very tough thing to call. It's not like you go through 3 market cycles and you're like, oh, I can call tops now. I got it. I know exactly when we stop. It doesn't work like that. So it's hard to say. I think I would take more profit on the way up, but I'm not going to hope to call the top or anything like that.
No, and there was a time I remember being on vacation and looking and being like, holy shit, and then thinking to myself, this is so easy. And then next thing I know, I'm like, what the fuck? So I think for me too, recognizing my, like Prince said too, recognizing my emotions a little better. If you're feeling euphoric, then, probably should do that. Real quick, I got to give a shout out. Yesterday, I can't remember, I think it was Katoshi tweeted, if you could sit down for 30 minutes with one crypto Twitter person, who would it be? And this Lee Main said me. So I messaged him and we had a nice little chat last night. And so at the end of the chat, he's like, hey, give me a shout out on the next pod. So that's for you. It's Charlie Coin in there, but his Twitter is Lee Main, LIMAYNE. So shout out, dude. Keep killing it. All right. What else we got?
There was talking about emotions and euphoria. There was a point pretty much near the top. It was actually my all-time high balance. I was talking to Gambla actually, and we were just talking about how crazy the bull run had been, and how awesome it was, and how we were taking profits, stuff like that. And I was like, man, I really have a mind to just take out like 80% to fiat and just wait for this thing to calm down until the markets make sense to me again, because I don't know where the top was and where the bottom was. So I was just kind of, like I said, selling a little bit every week. So it's like I just have in mind to sell like 80% and wait till everything makes sense again and try again. Like, or I could go for double, double my number that I'd hit, which is my all-time high. So I decided to go for the latter option there, and Yeah, that was my all-time high balance, unfortunately.
So that's funny you say that. I deal with a lot of like commodity markets, the grain market and cattle and pigs and stuff. And it's always funny hearing my the guys I work with talk about when they call the local, co-ops to see what their cash price is and stuff like that. They'll always be like, okay, enter my long here, blah, 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 blah. And then they always will, say at the end, well, what's everybody else doing? And the one time I can think the gal told this guy, well, everyone's long. And so he's like, cancel my order. I'm going to be long too. And then ended up tanking and the guy lost a lot of money. But so it's just kind of funny because, you've got to trust your gut instinct, in my opinion. And if it's telling you, like if I would have sold 70% like I had thought back when I was feeling like I was LeBron James, king on top of the world, I would have been in so much better position today. So I think that goes a long ways. And that's something that I struggle with. And Prince is really good at that. And I always will consult him, say, hey, I'm feeling this, blah, blah, blah. And he always is good at, and I see he's back now. He's always good at talking me
What's the
into
topic
trusting.
here?
I was talking about trusting my gut and how I always rely on
yeah.
you, even though you're younger than me. I always would be like, dude, this is what I'm feeling, but tell me otherwise. And you're like, I ain't telling you otherwise.
I think gut instinct goes a long way. There will be people who say, you know what, oh, that's stupid, that's irrational, don't listen to your gut, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, I personally believe that gut instinct goes a long way. And I've made some great trades off of gut instinct and, maybe telling me where to look and then in a sense, and then, oh, hey, well, that kind of lines up nicely with the chart and let's do it.
It's hard though. It's like, I feel like some people's guts suck, It's
some people's guts do suck. And so you got to be careful because if you got a crappy gut instinct, then it's going to lead you astray.
But I feel like people who have a crappy gut instinct don't realize they have a crappy gut instinct, because that's
so are you saying I have a crappy gut instinct?
Maybe I am, Dale. No, I'm just kidding. But it's so hard though. I don't know. It's like I said, like just knowing your faults is sometimes not enough to actually learn.
It's just being really aware of yourself, right? Like I think that's the biggest thing. You got to be aware of yourself, your emotions, and I think going back to the whole bull market or what I could have done better, it was just recognizing some of these emotions that I was going through when looking at my portfolio and realizing, okay, well, that was stupidity. The emotions I was going through. It was like, this is what the euphoria stage is. I didn't know that at the time. Now I can look at that and I got that, piece of experience now of getting absolutely crushed and, the market crash in a sense, the correction. And, so you got to learn from it though.
I think you learn a little bit each cycle, a little bit.
Well, this is the first real cycle I've ever gone through, right? Like for me, anywhere. I've never gone through crypto anywhere. I've never gone through a cycle before until, here, because legacy markets, well, Lord knows those cycles take freaking forever. So, crypto is the only place you can really get these expedited cycles, It's wicked for the experience.
Yeah. So somebody asked, what do you think the killer blockchain app will be to bring us to 1 billion users? Sicarious, you're saying Lucre? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I'm unfamiliar with that. So what is that project?
Lucre. It means money.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Gotcha. Okay. My mistake.
There's a lot of things you can do with the blockchain. A lot of cool stuff you can do with the blockchain. A lot of it's kind of niche though, and I think when the chips fall, blockchain is probably the most beneficial and useful app will be money, whether that's Bitcoin or some other coin. The cred. I think having decentralized sound money is very, very much a killer app that blockchain has allowed.
It's hard because, I think the question you always get when you bring that up to somebody who doesn't know anything about crypto is, well, what about the volatility? How are you going to buy something with a coin?
The classic thing I hear is, well, that's great and all, but it's so volatile. I want something that's stable. That is the classic line I hear from people who don't know anything really about crypto. And it's like, oh, have you looked into Bitcoin? They're like, oh, but it's too volatile. And then they just, shrug it off just because of that. It's like, okay, well.
I mean, what would you say to that, Sicarious? Like the is that something that just works its way out of the system with enough volatility or enough liquidity, I should say?
Yeah, and crypto's volatile because the market caps are small.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, buy now so you can dump on people when it's not volatile, because by then the market cap will be a whole lot higher.
Exactly. Then we're going to get these movements kind of just like Forex or gold, it's smaller movements, stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of like what Nomad said again here. It's, people don't want it when it's not volatile. They want it when there is money to be made usually, right? And so it's that whole get the gold in their eyes, and they're like,
you got to be willing to take the risk like when there is uncertainty, because by the time you're certain it's a quote unquote good investment, it's probably not a good investment anymore.
It's too late.
Everyone else has realized that. Yeah.
You're playing a Netflix game, which, well, is Netflix even a good investment? Probably not.
That kind of, Prince, your line about Netflix just kind of makes me think. This is another news story I saw today that I thought was kind of interesting. Is the CFA exam, which is a chartered financial analyst, added cryptocurrency to their curriculum. If you don't know, the CFA is probably the hardest exam or license to get in finance. It's super tricky. I think it's 3 parts, each which are multiple hours and multiple months of studying long. It's a really hard license to get. So if you see somebody in traditional finance who has a CFA, very impressive. That's a good designation. Anyway, so they added crypto to their official curriculum at this point. So that means people who are getting this license can be tested on cryptocurrency. I think that's huge, because this is literally probably the most respected license you can get in traditional finance, one of the most respected. And for them to be adding it officially is a big deal, I think.
I think it's another step in, just legitimizing the whole space in a sense, right?
And the thing is,
it's never going to be an overnight thing, but it's these little steps that keep happening, right? And so including this, crypto into the CFA exam now, that's a freaking significant move there all on its own. It's not like, okay, well, this is massive, this is gonna, it's gonna change things, but it's a step. And now, these guys who are, professional money managers, stuff like that, they're gonna have to learn about it, and that's big. It's a step in the right direction. So
there's definitely a lot of bullish signs like that out there, I think, right now. I can't remember the name of the company. I was just brief looking through that, but the new CEO was it of shit. No, I'm sure Nomad's gonna bust my balls on this, but anyways, they said this new CEO, maybe it was JP Morgan. No, it was fuck it. He was big into crypto, or on it. So that's.
I feel like it had to be like a smaller company, because like most of the really big dog CEOs would be like scared to say that.
I think the best comment I've heard so far was probably Goldman CEO there, Blankfein, where he kind of
yep.
Well, he took
new CEO, the DJ.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I just saw that on Twitter. Was that Goldman?
Yeah, that's what it was.
David Solomon.
YouTube chat says it was Goldman.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I will say he's such like a hip, like for a CEO of Goldman Sachs, the guy is like unbelievably hip. He's actually a DJ in his side time. Like he makes electronic music. So for him to be liking Bitcoin is like, it's kind of crazy, but it also kind of fits his personality. So
we got a lot of DJs in crypto, eh?
DJ Thistle.
Well, yeah, we got Thistle. I'm pretty sure Nomad used to be a DJ.
Did he really?
I think so. I think I saw something in his bio that he used to make people dance around the world, We got a lot of DJs at crypto.
Okay, this is something I want to ask you, Sicarious, that's been kind of curious to me. I think based on the people who I've known who have been in Twitter for a long time, I think a sizable portion in my mind tend to become more of Bitcoin maximalists over time. So I like to ask this of people. Have you found that to be true with you, where you find yourself becoming more of a maximalist, or the opposite direction, or what's kind of been your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think that I have been at all. People say most ICOs are scams, most altcoins are scams. And then point to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not a scam. Yeah, that's true, but that's because the barrier of entry to creating an altcoin or even an ICO is pretty much nil. So especially now that you can make just ERC20s. So it's always going to be an easy comparison to say 90% of altcoins are scams. Bitcoin's not. Thus, as a rule, altcoins suck. They do, but that's not really actionable because it's semi-easy to cull the 90% that are scams. Not all. I mean, I buy scams occasionally, whether on purpose or accidentally. But those percentages, they sound horrible because the barrier to entry is so low, and the barrier to entry to creating Bitcoin, well, it can't be done. It's already happened. So I think there's a lot of potential use out there for blockchains. I think there's altcoins out there that are good projects, honest projects that are done well, are doing good stuff. I think if people want to work on those altcoins, I think that's their prerogative. I don't think some people say that any money going to altcoins should go into Bitcoin, or any developers working on altcoins should be working on Bitcoin. Well, people could work on whatever the hell they want, in my opinion, and buy whatever they want. As long as I like the do no evil clause.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not a maximalist. Yeah, most altcoins are scams, but that's because there's so many of them. So it's kind of the nature of the beast.
I think it's, kind of going back to that, you said people are like, well, all developers should be working on Bitcoin. I think it's good that we have this mix, as much as it is kind of a cesspool at times for the amount of scams out there. The more we have going on, it'll create more competition in the long run, and which will create more innovation, right? So it's just going to further develop the space quicker and quicker. So I think, I think it's all, it's like, obviously there's going to be bad actors in it all. Can't really avoid that. They're in every industry. But, I think overall it's kind of like you said, like, just have them working on whatever they want to work on, because it draws more attention and, more development into this industry as a whole. So,
Sicarious, I gotta ask you. I think you've talked about Tezos before. I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it, because it launched, after the last time we talked with you.
It did, and I'm personally quite pleased with the launch. I thought, launching in the launching in the middle of a bear market like that, holding 2x from the ICO, 5x from USC value, I was happy.
I was impressed.
The chart looks atrocious, but that's because the chart everyone's posting is using the hit BTC futures price. That was ridiculous, and nobody with a brain thought was going to be the launching price anyway. So yeah, I'm pleased. My family, who all bought it with dollars, they're pleased. Granted, they would have been better buying Bitcoin and selling at 20K, but I didn't know that was going to happen. So
and it's crazy too, still to think about it, and that Bitcoin went up that much. I just remember in October or September, everyone was like, gosh, if we can just get 10K by the end of the year, that's going to be great for Bitcoin. And then 20K, it was just nuts. And did you guys see, I think I shared it with Prince and Killer, that chart that this exact day last year was the start of the rise for Bitcoin to 20K.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is nuts.
It's like really eerie, the timing and everything, lining up with the days. That kind of creepy.
I'm not gonna lie, it really makes me want to get like super freaky and just like think it's a conspiracy, like oh, this is the government's buy day, or like
it was the yearly buy program for the government kicked in today, so we'll get it again next year this time.
So remember, for next year, as long as it doesn't go to zero by then.
A lot of people lost their Tezos passwords. Which you apparently need to get. Well, you need to get the coins. And I had zero recollection of creating passwords for this, because usually you buy an ICO, you have the private key.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Or the seed phrase. They give you 15-word seed phrases. You're good. That's all you need. So I spent about 2 days thinking that I had burned all my Tezos and 3 of my family members' Tezos who bought it.
Oh no.
But then I I found on the Tezos like wallet PDF they printed off. There was a third page with what looked like Bitcoin addresses, which was actually my super secure passwords that I'd been mistaking
Oh,
for
wow.
Bitcoin addresses for 2 days.
Damn,
So
dude.
yeah,
That's
but
very secure. It
that
resembles
said,
an address.
that said, Tezos is also everyone else's loss is kind of our gain if we remembered our passwords because it's a little
Oh,
more
yeah.
of a constrained supply situation. So
Yep.
it wouldn't
There's a
surprise
lot.
me if the team does something to rectify that because once again, I don't see why with the seed with the 15-word secret key and your
On that
private
note,
key from your wallet.
And then also KYC now, and it's just like it's a whole process, right? So it's like
I saw something on the Reddit today that they were saying, I don't think Tezos Foundation itself is working on this, but somebody in the community is working on a GUI, like a graphical user interface, brute force program to try to remember your password. So if you lost your password, there's going to be some kind of easy to use solution that you can at least attempt to, nail it down if you forgot it. So it's funny though, Sicarious, your story about it and forgetting it, because I kind of had the exact opposite. Because when I got into Tezos, like I had made some money on crypto in general, but it wasn't like what I was going for. I was like, you know what? I made some money. Screw it. I'm going like super heavy into Tezos ICO. I'm either going to be fairly rich or have like nothing again. And so my password for that, like I've literally spent a lot of the past year like walking around. I'll just like say it in my head over and over and over, and just like remember it and recite it. And like I probably know it better than anything in my life right now. So it's like, it's funny to hear that, because
I remember that they had that password checker site there. And now of course, you're like, okay, well, you want to verify, you want to make sure it's, you got the right info, but you don't want to trust this website because it's like, who the hell wants to enter in all their, real important info, private key, all this stuff. Maybe it turns out to just be some scam and you're getting robbed. You don't even realize it. So I remember going through that and just being scared shitless that I was giving all my money away. But I've bought more Tezos. I'm a Tezos maximalist. I don't really know anything about tech or anything because I'm a trader, but I'm just going to be a maximalist for now because I have a big bag. So that's it. I'm a community member, so I was picking up more sub $2 there actually, so it was good.
That's funny.
I think it's got a lot more. It'll go higher. It'll be very successful, I feel. So
it's been interesting to see how the Tezos OTC market has played out, given that the only exchange they're on is not open to US, Canada, Japan, a few other nations, I think. But that should be a catalyst higher too, right? When they get on a good exchange and actually have some kind of money flow into it.
You'd hope.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, it's always a balance from then people who want to dump can dump.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of general buy interest for Tezos in the $2 range. So I think a decent exchange will help Tezos out.
Yeah. And I think it's quick. It's a good example of how quickly narratives and sentiment can shift. Because I mean, the project was nothing but hate for a year, and for good reason though, because they screwed up on some timelines. They maybe were over ambitious in their promises during the ICO. But the sentiment has changed very quickly. And trust me, I was the biggest Tezos hater forever, because I had so much invested in it, and I'm like, shit, this was a bad idea. So I felt like I had to kind of spur it along. But I've noticed, the same thing you were talking about, Sicarious, where you talk to people and there's a general bullishness and there's a desire to get in around this price. And I think that's obviously a good sign.
Yeah, I'm excited for the mainnet launch and for them to start spending their hundreds of millions of dollars to pump my bag.
Exactly. Exactly.
The money that they definitely have. That's for damn sure.
Well, the amount of people I've seen saying that buying Tezos would be the worst decision you could ever make just makes me want to cry when I see that. So it makes me a little more bullish when I see stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, I got to go buy more now. You guys are saying that's the worst decision I could ever make. Let's embrace it.
Did you see Shooter Crypto McGavin? Tezos isn't as bad as getting your IOTA quarantined by IOTA Foundation during its all-time high for 5 months last year. Correct.
Shit. I never
That
had
might be true.
I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't know anything about
IOTA?
C-curl transitone glitch in their code.
Sounds bad.
Yeah, IOTA is not something I want to touch. So
Sounds like a shitstorm.
Well, what I vaguely remember the whole situation where it's like it was pumping hard and the blockchain, like you couldn't even send it to exchanges or whatever. Like if it was holding it in your wallet, you were not gonna sell it. So that's always fun to deal with.
I feel like another maybe God damn it, Ardor or something like that did that for a while too, where it was just going like mad, pumping, and the wallet was
Well,
yeah, it was frozen on Bittrex for quite a while. I think
Yeah.
during the swap.
Yeah,
that was I knew a few people trying to they hadn't moved it onto the exchange yet for the whole swap thing, and they were kind of playing it for that, and then the swap it's getting closer, and all of a sudden they can't send it anywhere, and they're like, well, what the hell, I can't sell this now at the all-time highs, and it just ended up,
that was brutal.
just choked. Well, and this is, I think, a good kind of a lesson for those IOUs on HitBTC, because the biggest thing, people were just hyped about the airdrop for the Ignis token, and it was just going crazy on the IOUs. Meanwhile, it's IOUs, it's just a crapshoot. I think if you look back at where it was trading then, Ignis, to where it is now, you would just spit out your drink. So it's a good example. The IOUs are bully. IOUs are good at creating hype.
Bitcoin's retesting that mid 74 range.
Ooh.
Oh Lord.
Yes.
I'm going to BitMEX right now.
Okay, let's wrap it up. Right? Yeah, I was just typing bitmex.com. Let's wrap up. No. But for real, I'm out of things to talk about right now. So
I bought a bag of EOS earlier today.
Prince, that's enough. We don't talk about
yeah,
that.
you shut your whorish mouth.
There's on
We're
Mex,
all
but it's
Tezos
not real.
maximalists.
I'm a Tezos Maximus, so it wasn't real EOS. It was just contracts. But
okay, Prince, go sit in the corner for the rest of the show. So, Sicarious, do you have any parting words or anything you would like to get out?
Enjoy the bounce on Bitcoin.
yeah,
Let's party.
live it up.
It's safe to say everyone on Twitter is ready for this.
It's nice to have movement again. That's not just down.
It feels good, right? I feel refreshed. I feel like I have life in my veins again.
Well, and I mean, we had movement, we had bounces and stuff, but to have a basically $1,000, actually more than $1,000 bounce in this time frame, that's something we haven't seen in a decent while. So
pretty powerful move here. So
15-20% bounce.
Actually, to the upside, we haven't seen a move like that since April.
yeah. This move is big for me. It kind of brought back. It made me reminisce on the way Bitcoin was when I first got in. It was it was getting into that bull mode, and one thing I remember a lot was you trade the. Sometimes on lower time frames you'd see these divergences popping up, but the real bull mode Bitcoin doesn't care about those divergences all the time. It'll just invalidate them and make you feel like an idiot. And today it did that for the first time in a long time, and so that made me really smile, because it was okay, this is good. I like this.
Speaking of, just open. I know people get so pissed off when you hear this. I just opened up my BitMEX. I haven't been really messing because I'm a horrible chop trader, and I have a lot more available balance than I thought. So let's fucking go. Shout out! I got to give him a shout out, Coin Maverick. He says, "Shout out Coin Maverick. Charlie Lee did nothing wrong." You can find him on Twitter at Coin Maverick.
He's a good trader. All right.
He sold the top.
We're great traders of Pod Token as well.
I would high five him for that. That is a wicked trade on his part.
He sold it and bought it all back when it went back down to what, $80.
That guy's not even trying to be a trader, and he's out trading pretty much all of it.
I think there might be a conflict of interest here.
Yeah.
It's $300 later, you think there might be a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Jeez. Never mind.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, Sicarious, thanks again, man. Appreciate it. It was great stuff. We'll have to obviously have you back again because it's a lot of fun having you on. So,
thank you.
all right, everyone. Peace out.
All right,
Yeah,
take care.
see ya. Peace out. Tip your waitress. Let's do some fun shit.
Let's go
Quit being
Mexican.
salty on Twitter.